Okay, everyone, this is still lesson 7-2. This will be part 3. In the last video, I left you with this question, this problem. I asked you to factor this bad boy. And I do want to point out something over here for you in this math tip. It talks about two different things. It talks about what's called a difference of squares. And a difference, it gives you an example here. You've got a squared minus b squared. So like something like this, x squared minus 4. 4 is a perfect square. And that is equal to, basically take the square root. One will be x minus 2 times x plus 2. And so that's one special relationship. And the other one is called a perfect square. Or basically, a perfect square trinomial, let me use yellow, can be written as a plus b squared. So you notice it's a squared, so that could be like x squared, and then 4. And in the middle, it's going to be whatever the first one is. Take the square root, so x, and then take the square root times 2, so it ends up being x squared plus 4x plus 4. It's a special relationship. And one of these ends up being like that. But let's look at D here. So we talked about the box, which, I'm going to be honest, isn't completely necessary for these particular problems, but it will be for the next section, so that's why I want you to practice it. So I'm going to fill out my box first, x squared and 36. Remember, these two in the middle add up to the negative 12x. So our A is 1, our B is negative 12, and our C is 36. And we're looking for factors of A times C, so that's 1 times 36, that add up to our B, that add up to negative 12. So factors of 36 that add up to 12. Negative 12. So since this 12 is negative, and this is our adding part, and that means we're going to have two negatives here, because two negatives multiply to give you a positive, but then add to give you a negative number. So 36, and you could run through some here, but I feel like the most obvious answer is going to be negative 6 times negative 6. And then if you add those together, we get negative 12. So the numbers that we're going to use inside the box here, negative 6x plus negative 6x equals negative 12x. And then we work backwards to figure out what will go on the outside. For this first base here, it's going to be x times x. That's what gives us the x squared. Okay? And then we look, what will go here? What times x gives us negative 6x? Well, that would be negative 6. And then what times x would give us negative 6x? Well, that would be negative 6. So for this one, we should have gotten x minus 6 times x minus 6, which can be rewritten as x minus 6 squared. So you should have got something along those lines. All right, for E. So you notice this one has two terms. We have our A, we don't have our B, and we have our C. So our A is 1. Since we don't have a B, we can use 0, and our C is negative 144. What do you notice about negative 144? Hopefully you recognize that 144 is a perfect square. 144 is a perfect square. Does anybody know what the square root of 144 is? Well, you should say 12. So we'll do our ACB. And we need factors of 1 times negative 144, which is just going to be negative 144, that add up to 0. And those factors are going to be negative 12 times 12. Negative 12 plus 12 equals 0. So in our box, the x squared will go here, the negative 144 will go here, and these two in the middle are going to add up to equal 0. So negative 12x and 12x. The x times x gives us the x squared. And then what times x would give us 12x? Well, that would be 12. And then what times x would give us negative 12x? Well, that would be negative 12. So our answer is on the outside of the boxes. X plus 12 times x minus 12. That's our answer. All right, on F here. Now this is something we haven't done yet. You see this number in the front. This is 5. So in all of these so far, A has been 1. A has been 1. But on this one, that's not the case. So before you start to worry, here's what you need to check for. Is there a GCF? Is there a greatest common factor in all three terms? Is there a number that I can factor out of all three of these? And what you should notice is that 5, 40, and 75, those are all divisible by 5. So I'm going to factor out that 5 first. Basically, I'm going to divide everything by 5. So I just get x squared here. 40 divided by 5 is going to give me 8. And then 75 divided by 5 is going to give us 15. And so now I have a problem that has 1 as its A value. And so don't fret over the 5. You're just going to bring it down, and it's just going to hang out at the front of your answer. We need to break down this guy, though. So I need factors that add up, ACB. So now our A is 1, our B is 8, and our C is 15. I need factors of 1 times 15, which is just going to be 15, that add up to 8. So the factors of 15 that add up to 8, I feel like the most obvious ones here are 3 times 5. That's 15. 3 plus 5 adds up to 8. So when we make our little box, I'll do it over here. I didn't really plan my space out here very well. Okay, we put the x squared here, the 15 here, and these two add up to the 8. So that's going to be 3x plus 5x equals 8x. And now we work backwards. We build on the outside. X squared, so that has to be x times x. X times x gives us x squared. And then we think, what times x gives us 5x? Well, that would have to be 5. And then what times x gives us 3x? Well, that would be 3. So our answer, the x plus 5 goes in one set of parentheses, and the x plus 3 goes in the other set of parentheses. So our answer is 5 times x plus 5 times x plus 3. Now we've got one more example now. So we've got negative 12x squared plus 108. So like I said before, it's going to be kind of like F, where you don't have 1 in the front. So let's see if there's a GCF. Can I divide both of these guys by negative 12? So obviously this one would just be x squared. I can take out a negative 12 from there. And then 108 divided by negative 12. Let's check that out. So that's going to be minus 9. So I was able to divide both of these guys by negative 12 to give us a simpler looking problem. And like I said, with our GCFs, they just hang out into the end and they'll go in the front. And so now we need to look at x squared minus 9. Notice how it's just two terms. Our a is 1. We don't have the b, so we'll say b is 0, and then c will be negative 9. So I need factors a, c, b, 1 times negative 9, and 0. Factors of negative 9 that add up to 0. Well, I feel like this might be pretty obvious. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, and then 3 plus negative 3 equals 0. So our numbers in the box, I got my x squared first, negative 9 goes here, and the 2 in the middle add up to 0. So that has to be 3x plus negative 3x. And now we work backwards. What times what goes here? That would be x times x. What times x gives us negative 3x? Well, that would be negative 3. And then what times x gives us 3x? Well, that would be 3. So our answer is x minus 3 and x plus 3 with the negative 12, the GCF on the front. Okay, factoring can be difficult at first, but if you put your mind to it and practice it enough, you'll get there. Okay, so I gave you 6 practice problems that you're going to submit after this video. Y'all, good luck.